Man rescues a blind dog that had been missing for over a week. It's absolutely devastating to discover that your dog is missing. After all, how would you feel if you didn't know where one of your own family members were, or if they were even safe? This becomes even more troubling when your dog suffers from a disability. That was the trouble that the Cole family faced when their blind Labrador, Sage, suddenly disappeared. Even though dogs have a superior sense of smell that helps guide them everywhere they go, they rely on their sight too. Without it, Sage was helplessly lost. The family searched for her for several days, and what they found shocked them. Sage, a blind Labrador retriever, was 12 years old when she went missing from the Cole family's home in early March of 2017. As soon as they realized she was gone, they began a thorough search around their home in Boulder Creek, California, but came up empty. 10 of our neighbors joined our family in the search that lasted until late that night, said Sage's owner, Beth Cole, in an interview. Then they came back to help for several days after that. Over a week passed, but there was still no trace of their beloved pup. "We have predators in the area, so we thought there was a chance she died," Beth continued. Still, the family didn't want to give up hope, and they posted flyers around the area just in case. Soon after, the family's next-door neighbor, Dan Estrada, stumbled upon what he thought was a bag of trash in a stream. He was just 15 minutes into a hike with his friend Vincent and his 2 dogs, Kolsch and Barnabas. That's when he realized it was Sage. She was worried that it was too late. It wasn't until Vincent moved closer to the dog's body that the men noticed her head was moving. Realizing she was still alive, Dan sprung into action. "I climbed a lot quicker, jumped into the stream, and hustled over to her. I put my arms around her and kissed her and started to pet her, and she was able to hold her head up and wag her tail." Sage was immediately happy to see Dan's dogs, with whom she was already acquainted. "She walks with those guys," he said. "She picked up her head and she's looking around for them and she's happy." Still, her rescue was far from finished. After 8 days without food, Sage was starving, exhausted, and weak. She walked maybe 10 steps, but she was moving a little bit too slow, Dan said. Then she ran into a log. "I realized that there was no way she was going to be able to walk on her own, so I put the dog on my shoulders and we made our way back up." With Sage thrown over his shoulders, Dan, Vincent, and Dan's dogs started to march the poor pup to safety. Vincent contacted the Coles as soon as he could to alert them that they were returning with Sage, and they rushed out to meet him. The reunion between Sage and her family was remarkably emotional, and they were understandably relieved. "They were crying, they were happy," recalled Dan. "We were about halfway up the mountain, and I could see that they were all teary-eyed." Even more amazingly, Dan refused to accept the $1,000 reward that the Coles had been offering to anyone who managed to find Sage. Instead, he asked that the family donate the amount to an animal rescue group. Talk about paying it forward. "Our family is so grateful to have Sage home," Beth said. "Our small town has really pulled together around this happy ending made possible by our neighbor Dan. Way to go, Dan. Thank goodness Sage was back home, safe and sound." Is there any bigger relief than a blind, elderly dog being returned home after an ordeal like this one? We don't think so.